Very privileged to have Bridge and Cath with me on the wrap today.
Hello.
Always love your guys' thoughts and love what you bring to these moments, and love just chatting around what God's doing in your hearts and what He's saying. And hey, maybe you're joining us the first time on the wrap. It's a cool moment just to take your notepad out, write out what God's saying to you as we try to break down what God's saying to us personally. I know He's spoken to you, just as He's spoken to us on campus. So take those moments and write them down.
Yeah.
Catherine,
Yes.
any standouts from the message for you this morning?
Yeah, I think I was just thinking right now about that God turned the place of giants into the place of gathering, but also perhaps where your greatest giants are, the church. Yeah, I don't know. In the church, that's where gets broken down.
Brilliant.
I think just in the community of others,
Yes.
people who are. Yeah, I don't know what it is about the church, but I will.
Yeah, that's
Over
beautiful.
the last, having been saved when I was in my 20s, that the church is definitely the place where some of your giants are pulled down.
Brilliant.
And
100%.
I think sometimes it might take 45 years.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Sometimes we walk around the giants for a while
Yeah.
before we actually.
No, that's the thing also that stood out to me is like God gave him a promise. It took 45 years to
Yeah.
take place, guys. I'm
Yeah.
not that patient.
And neither am I. Neither am
I'm
I.
not that patient.
That's why they call it faith.
Yo, I don't know how big those grapes have to look.
How big are the
Not
grapes
that
in your mind?
patient. The giant tends to win sometimes.
No, he
on my
does,
side.
often.
So it's just
Yeah.
like an encouragement that the best place to be when you're facing the giants is in
So
the church.
good.
Brilliant.
That's brilliant.
Because there'll be others who will remind you when your grapes look shriveled.
Yes,
So
exactly.
The raisins.
The 10 and the 2. I love that idea.
Right.
10 and 2, yo. 2 of them saw massive giant
Yeah.
grapes. Other 10 saw raisins.
Exactly.
So,
That's
but,
so good. I love that, Cath.
yeah.
Such a beautiful thought.
yeah, I love that idea of the place of the giants becoming the place of gathering.
Yeah,
So when we gather, giants fall.
definitely.
shrink.
And like church for me isn't just I've seen that exactly what you're speaking. I've seen outplay in my life as well. When we buy into a community of church and believers and plug into that space, God shifts things that you never
Yeah.
thought, things, situations in your life and issues, the giants. God really does shift them. It's not just a matter of gathering on a Sunday, but in community, God does something powerful.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really
But
by His grace. I don't know. It's something He's got over the church. I don't know what it
I
is.
don't know. I remind my kids as they hit teenage dim, whatever that is,
Teenage them.
that the best place for them to grow up in is actually the church.
church,
And the
yeah.
reason is that people love you not because they're necessarily your blood family, but because they genuinely have a love
Yeah.
and a heart for
Yeah,
your
so
future
true.
and your success. So keep putting yourself in a place
Brilliant.
Yeah,
where you're
so
going to gain
good.
life. And it's different.
It is.
It's different.
It is
God's
different.
hand on things and Jesus in a place is different.
Yeah.
And it's a different love, but it's one of the places where your life will expand and not shrink, as far
Yeah.
as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
It really is.
That's so good.
Convinced of that. Even
Yeah,
through the tough
so
times,
good.
I'm convinced of that.
No, and I agree with you. I just love, there's that unconditional love with the community of people around you. They believe the best of your life. They want the best
Yeah.
for you, and they go after it. And I just love the thought of that.
Yeah, it's
and
beautiful.
And that's why I asked the question, why? Why do we see giants fall when we in community? And you can't really put a tangible.
Perhaps it's because you're facing it together.
Yeah, there's a bit of team, I suppose.
You know,
Yeah.
some of the giants
Yeah.
we've had, you guys have faced it with us, and it makes a difference when you
Yeah,
feel like you've
yeah.
got someone around you just to cheer you on.
And
or-
you know what else I think? It's that thing of, how he saw when he went into the place and he saw the giants, he didn't notice the giants, he saw the fruit that was the potential
Yeah.
that God had. And when we're facing our own giants, I think, and we can come into community of people, like you're saying, other believers around you, they show you the God perspective.
So
They
good.
can see the
They can
potential.
see the God perspective and the
Found it.
potential. When you're facing giants, sometimes you feel so overwhelmed, and it's almost impossible to see what God sees, But those people can reflect it back to you and say, "Hey, we believe for
Yeah.
something greater for you. Actually, God's got
that's
something
good.
better for you."
That's so good. So there's
Yeah.
people around you there's people around you in the community of the church to remind you of the destiny and the God calling our life.
Yeah,
When sometimes you can't see it for yourself.
yeah, so good.
Very good. Very, very
Yeah.
good.
And just to remember, the church isn't just here.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
was just thinking of a conversation I had yesterday when James first went to college, and it's quite a big year, that first year, and there was a guy there who was one of the prefects, and a met his dad yesterday, and I just said, I just want to say thank you because your son is a Christian, and he wrote James a letter, just encouraging him in his character and his
How
future.
beautiful.
And he gave him this old rugby jersey. His dad didn't even know about it. He started to cry.
No way.
At Orkies. But it was so powerful because that kid
That's amazing.
made such a big difference. He just took something he saw, wrote it down, gave it to him. No show, like song and dance.
That
and
is
that
powerful.
Put massive
Wow.
courage. And I think as a church, wherever we're at, even if we're not in the house of God, there's an opportunity to be the church wherever you are.
Yeah,
So
beautiful.
good.
Put courage.
And also just to say, how are we showing up in those moments?
Yeah.
Because I know like Sunday gatherings are cool and connect groups are cool, but I know Mark's been chatting a lot this week about mission and ministry. And we have a ministry in the church, but we have a mission in the world.
Yeah.
And how we show up in those mission moments when you're teaching, when you're in the foundation. How are we showing up in those moments when you have someone hurting, when someone's lost a loved one, an encouragement moment like that. And I think that's where those Joshua and Caleb people really shine. It's like when Jammer gets given a rugby jersey in his first year of college going, hey,
beautiful.
go on, just a little cheer on there. So how are you showing up in the world of others, not just in the church community, but in and around your everyday work life and taking moments just to encourage people around you? I love that. Joshua and Caleb's seeing massive grapes. Anything else stand out for you, Liv?
I think for me, it was, I love that last thought Dill put together about how maybe he didn't, maybe it wasn't actually the grapes. Maybe the grapes are a representation of like Jesus' blood and how he viewed the perspective through the cross, or how we can view our perspectives or our giants through the cross and through the victories that Jesus has already won for us, and that he's on our side no matter what, and he's fighting for us and all the things, because we face giants all the time, right?
Yeah.
That's part of living in this world and being, part of the world. And so just to rename the mountain, I love the fact that he renamed the mountain something else. And as sons and daughters of God, we get to do that. We get to see the God potential, look through the cross, not what is actually happening. Because sometimes the circumstances we look at are so real. But to actually look at it through God's eyes and through his perspective and say, call it something else. Call the potential. See the victory, even if we can't tangibly feel it right now, and speak that over it. I don't know.
That's great. I think that's very, very good.
Yeah.
I think we need to call what is not as if it were.
Yeah.
Awesome. I wrote down a bunch of questions. I was like, when that opening line said, "Feel not to find your future," so the Lord will drive.
Can't
read your writing there.
Have another sip of coffee.
There we go. But, but the crux is this: is what has God said to you that you've forgotten? I think there's so many
good.
different promises. There's so many promises over our lives, and we actually forget about them.
Yeah.
I don't know if we always forget. We just get despondent.
Correct.
And you get scared of going for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like disappointment, disillusionment, and you just get scared, and you're like, nah, my heart doesn't want to go there again.
Yeah.
You just
I'm not going to do that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So true.
And then I asked the next question. I said, "Well, how big are the grapes in your mind?" Because raisins. But if they're raisins, you're going to quickly forget. But if we truly understand, I just love the picture. If we understand the grapes and fill in the blank of what grapes is, promises of God, inheritance, future, everything God has for us. If we understand the size of that, we might not forget as quickly, or we might not become as despondent as quickly. And I know there's a faith journey to it, and I know it took 45 years, and I know there's all those elements to it. But how big are the grapes?
I know, and also maybe not to just limit it to this world. And I know that sounds very like, what's the word? Very deep.
Yes.
But it's true.
It is true.
The actual
100%.
reality is we have an inheritance, a massive one.
Yeah.
We just can't comprehend it this
Absolutely.
side.
That's so
And,
true.
I don't know. I do pray I see the goodness of God in the land of the living.
Yes. And we
And I
we
have,
shall.
And we do.
Yeah, we do.
Um,
God shows us glimpses
He
of that all the
does,
time.
But
Like,
then maybe that very thing that Jesus said is a takeaway sting of death,
Yeah.
and your inheritance is eternal.
Yes.
No moth, no stinky worm.
Exactly.
And chow that thing.
That's gone.
You don't eat the grapes. The grapes are not ever going to be chomped
No, they're not. The worms are
by some
out.
terrible worm.
But I love that thing of inheritance because we try and identify an inheritance in
We
ourselves.
think of it earthly and material.
We do.
Let's be real.
Yeah.
We
And
do.
the reality is God gives us the privilege of inheritance. We don't
Yeah.
get the privilege of choosing it.
that's
we,
powerful.
But we do have the privilege of stepping into it.
Yes.
So we
Wow,
need to
that was
stop.
deep.
Yeah.
Hang on. Backtrack. So
We don't
we
get to
don't
choose
have
our inheritance.
Yeah, we don't get to choose. We don't have the
No,
privilege
you
of
don't.
choosing our
It's given
inheritance,
to
and we
us.
try
It's a
all the
gift.
time. We're like,
Yeah.
I want X and I want Y, and it's like still talking about popping the
Yeah.
balloons. Hey, there's my beach house, and oh, there's a nice new car, and
Yeah.
all those things. We don't get to choose the privilege of our inheritance. God
No.
gives it to us, but we get the
Yeah.
privilege to step into it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
that's true.
So it's actually God, like, hey, God, we're not, I don't, and the whole weekend, for some reason, God's been talking to me on the other side of a simple yes. Like,
Yeah.
I have no idea what is on the other side of a simple yes.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say yes, and I'm going to commit, and I'm going to keep moving forward, and I'm going to trust that the
Yeah.
inheritance God has for me is greater
It's
than
greater. Yeah.
anything
that's
I can
beautiful.
Can't comprehend
even if
on-
it takes 45 years.
even if it takes 45 years. And
Yeah, that's good.
we are old and
We
grey.
did say also
And wrinkly.
What? The faithful live a long life.
They
you
do.
might- yeah. Well, yeah.
It is true.
And that thought also of it's in your blood. Like,
Yes.
you know, step into what God's placed inside of you because He's given every single person something.
Yeah.
So how do you pick up that mantle and just step into it, you know, trusting that He's going to outwork it all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't get the third point. It's in His blood. It's in His time, and by
It's
His.
according to His word. It's not our own
Yes.
That's it.
self-statements.
By
it's actually
His
according
word.
to His word because it's eternal.
That's right. I also love that quick short thought that we need to wrap up just so it's taking into Monday. But the quick thought around that age of 40 and a midlife crisis not being a midlife crisis. It's actually, I love that.
Oh,
But-
40 feels
Because
too
how old
close.
are you, Dabs?
I'm 39.
Yeah. Okay.
It's real, eh? Like
No,
I'm,
I told you it was real. I told
yeah,
you when
you
I
did.
had
You
it.
did. You were. And I
had
didn't believe
nine
you.
lists.
I didn't
Yeah,
believe
you
you.
actually just looked
Yeah,
at
we're
me.
like,
Yeah,
whatever, man.
It's
It's real.
real.
But it is real. And I love the thought that eternal things become more important than material things at that
Indeed.
age. Because
Perspective.
Yeah.
I do feel like I'm shifting from a perspective of like, yes, I want stuff to, no, actually, there's
There's
a greater,
more.
there's
Yeah.
more. There's a greater course. So not there yet.
Every-
Bridges a couple of months
Every
away.
wrinkle.
Yeah, it's a warm up. It's like
So,
Angus
yeah,
Bucket.
the
These aren't
wisdom.
wrinkles, they're warm ups. All right,
Yeesh.
let's keep moving. What are you taking into Monday?
I think for me, it's that it took 45 years. You know what? Sometimes, quite honestly, it's get up and keep walking.
It's so good.
That's really, and
So-
I'm not trying
so
to be
good. No.
depressive or anything.
Just keep
I'm just
showing
being
up.
honest.
Yeah.
So sometimes just get up and keep
Yeah,
walking,
show up.
and
Just
those
show up.
giants will shrink and actually keep staying in the
Agree.
presence of God and in the church. And you know what? Those giants do shrink.
Yeah.
They do.
They do,
Yeah.
and somehow you kind of get through life, and oh gosh, that became a dwarf,
Yeah, quickly.
and the next one popped up.
And
that's
You
so
know what?
true,
It's a
'cause
lifetime.
Often those giants disappear without even giving them any
Realizing
it,
attention.
yeah.
And that's what.
Yeah.
And that's when I asked the question earlier around why the church and what does it look like. And my thinking was like, so often when you're surrounded by community, the giants disappear without you
They
knowing,
shrink,
and you look
yeah.
back and they're like, hey, they're gone. We're like
Yeah.
Yeah.
garden gnomes.
So
everywhere.
Did your friend have garden gnomes? My
She did,
grand
yeah,
had garden
she had a
gnomes.
garden gnome, yeah.
Oh,
Thank
gosh.
goodness those haven't come back.
I'm gonna get a garden gnome for our garden. All right, love. What are you taking into
careful.
Monday?
I
What did you say?
I think renaming the mountain, like just
Great.
you know, whatever mountain you face, whatever's your struggle, just renaming it. You know, with God's promises and believing that He's got it. And I think that's sometimes hard. Practically, you think it feels, you know, I don't know. For me, it's just sometimes so evident, and I'm like, but how can I believe something else when I can see it on this
Yeah.
planet? It's
Yeah.
this, you know.
Yeah.
But to speak, to look through God's eyes and to see God's perspective on things and to just call His promises over those things regardless.
Brilliant.
Yeah, not give the enemy space, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's your table, definitely.
I'm gonna two things. One, ask God what are the things He said over my life that I've forgotten,
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
just start to believe for those things again. And the second one is to help others see what's over their life
Yeah.
and to remind them.
awesome.
I want to be a Caleb. I want to be a guy that
Yeah.
goes out there and says, no, there are big,
Grapes.
massive grapes ahead of you
Yeah,
that
that's
maybe
beautiful.
you can't see in this season, but.
You so are that.
Yeah, you are.
You're a great
Awesome.
encourager.
But we can always get better, and I want to do it more, and
Yeah.
I want to get behind people, and just remember them that there's an incredible God promise over their lives, even though they can't see it at times.
Amazing.
So,
Amen.
come on. Hey, it's been an amazing morning in church, and grateful that you hung out with us right to the end here on the wrap. And
We're going to head to the baptism.
we're heading outside for
Ah,
baptisms.
yes.
Unfortunately, they won't be filmed and not online, but there'll definitely be some photos on social media, so
Amazing.
keep your eyes peeled on the pages of social media. And thanks, Bridget and Cath, for your thoughts. It's
Dave.
always,
Ah, thank you.
when you guys do the wrap, it's always so fun. I love it. Like, we always have a good chuckle.
It
and
remains that way.
and, and so intellectual, and
Yeah,
I
so
don't know.
deep.
Don't know what
So
we're going to do
deep.
next week.
We have a laugh. We have a laugh.
Just kidding. But we're so
Yeah.
grateful for that you joining us online this morning. Write down what you're taking into your Monday. Let's make the word practical in our week. And grateful for you joining us online. If you haven't done so yet, we'd love to connect with you. Get in touch with us. Have the most amazing week ahead, and we'll catch you next week. Ciao, ciao.
Cheers.